Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore-Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one! Another one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. It's Wednesday. We've made it halfway through the week. Hope you're having a good one. Weather has been pretty nice. Looks a little cloudy out there today, but that's okay. Hope everyone's got a good start to the day going. Great lineup, as always. The great Bob Kravitz will join us. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Derek Elston, former Indiana Hoosier, going to join us. Rick Bozich, Hall of Fame writer from WDRB.com as well. So another full lineup as I just dropped my pen to get going today. So looking forward to that. Hope your day is going well. I got out and played some golf yesterday, baby. I hit the ball pretty well. I'm very happy with myself. I know you never hear me say that. Ever. Hey, don't forget about the Never Lose Hoop golf outing that is coming up. That is on Thursday, June 23rd. Jordan Hall's Never Lose Hoop Foundation. You can help area kids with cancer by participating, playing. You can donate. You can sponsor a hole. We need food and beverage sponsors, which those are $500 each, but sponsoring a hole is only $100. Anybody can do that. Fans included. There are fans that are sponsoring a hole. They can put their name on it, say, good luck from Dwayne Blackford, or Forrest is doing it. Forrest Gray's doing that. So you can say good luck from Forrest or whatever. And Jordan Holtz will take a picture and send it to you with that. So that's kind of cool. But it's all benefits 100% goes to Never Lose Hoop. So looking forward to that. There will be, and if you can participate, there's going to be pretty good presence from Indiana basketball, as you can imagine. So you will get to enjoy that as well if you're out there and about. Right here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point, or right here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point, is where it will be taking place on Thursday, June 23rd. So looking forward to that as things progress. Last night, the draw for the draft happened. The Pacers had a 10% chance of getting the number one pick, and they did not. They end up with the number 6 pick, which it's okay, especially since the Pacers have not had a single-digit pick since 1989, and this might be one of the highest picks they've ever had. So hopefully they can still do some magic with it. It's just not the same as having those first 3 picks. There's a gigantic difference, but we'll talk more about that with Bob maybe when he comes along. But hopefully they can add to it. People jumping on the Andy Moore-Honda hotline. Tim, Tony, Michael, Forrest, Dwayne. On the 27th in Valley High School, Gabe Cupps and Reed Shepard are going to be playing down there. Why they're playing there, I don't know.
They were talking about it actually on Jerry Eve's show yesterday. I can't remember what the event is called, or it was just a one-off matchup of some sort, but they're expecting a pretty large crowd. Rick Bozich was on talking with Jerry Eves, so maybe you can ask Rick when he comes on.
Yeah, well, we will, obviously. I know that they're playing New Albany High School. Gabe Cupps' team is playing New Albany High School later on, which it's funny. I mean, it's amazing how Gabe Cupps is being scheduled all over the place here all of a sudden, now that he's an Indiana commit. But yeah, it's so funny how people act like scheduling is just like the most impossible thing in the world to do. And all of a sudden, but unless they want to do it, things get done in a hurry if you have to be able to. It's just so amazing. Other than that, though, like, oh, no, the schedules are made out years in advance. We can't change that. How's everybody else doing? How's your day going? What happened yesterday? Tyrone says that Wagner, is a DJ Wagner's kid playing on the other team. Is that his high school team? There you go. DJ Wagner. Yeah, he will. DJ Wagner's team, that's the grandson of Milt Wagner, I believe, former Louisville great. So you got all that going on. A lot of basketball is what it is. A lot of basketball. So that's not till, that's the 27th. So that's just coming up. You got the Indianapolis 500 coming up. Man, we got all kinds of stuff going on. It's a busy month of May. Basketball this weekend, as we've already talked about with the AAU schedule. What is this weekend? No, there is actually, this is a weekend off. How about that? Nutsoid. The next up is the Memorial Day Running Slam, which is the 27th, and the Nike EYBL in Louisville also on the 27th. So a weekend off. You gotta like that. Go ahead.
I'll say, Jim, I noticed today. So yesterday you had your AC/DC Back in Black shirt on. Today you've got the Rolling Stones Indianapolis Motor Speedway shirt on.
That's right. From July 4th, 2015. I cannot believe it has been 7 stinking years, man. Gosh, darn it. I cannot believe that. Yeah, it's crazy, but it was a fun time, except for trying to sit down. I was on a patch of gravel. We were on the, literally, we were on the infield. I don't think they had the full road course made yet. It would have been nice. I could have been sitting in turn 14 or something. It would be nice to know where now that the road course is there, where we were. I was right behind behind the pagoda, basically. But
is that the only time they've ever played Indy Motor Speedway?
Oh yeah. But I've been fortunate. I've said it before. I've been fortunate. I've seen them 3 times, and all 3 times have been at a very, very unique venue.
One of them was down in Churchill Downs. I think you've seen before, right?
That was the first time I saw him in like 2007 or 8, whenever that was. And then Indianapolis, and then the following year I saw him in Mexico City at their Formula One racetrack in Mexico City. Just coincidence, happened to be there for a business thing, and saw some guy walk around in a Rolling Stones jacket in the hotel I was staying in, a really nice jacket, and found out that they were playing that night. And I'm like, what?
Oh, so that was a spur of the moment decision.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was just a freak coincidence that they happened to be there. Ross says the Cubs are surging, baby. 2 straight shutouts. Speaking of surging, the Reds, man, they're so funny. Let's see. Got to get that standings pulled up. I know they're still at the bottom of the barrel, but they've won a few more games than I thought they were going to win already. I can tell you that. Let's see. Come on, standings.
Here's the thing. If you're a longtime Cubs fan and you suffered already enough, you won your World Series back in, I don't remember what year it was. I don't think anything could happen anymore that could match the euphoria that you felt when the Cubs finally broke the curse and won a World Series. I don't think
they
there's
don't get
any
to complain.
hardship
They don't
that
get
could
to
get to you
complain
anymore.
They don't get to complain. You can't. You've won a World Series. You can't be the lamenting Cubs fan anymore. That's over. Not only did you win the World Series, you had a good little run there. It wasn't just a 1 year's deal. I mean, they were good for a few years. And right now they're not horrible. They're 15-20. They're 7 games back. Yeah, but they're in the middle of their middle of the worst division in baseball, probably. The Reds have won 10 games, which is shocking to me. That's 7 more than I thought they were going to win. Let's see. In their division, they're 7 well, that sounded like howdy doody. Yeah, they're 7-9. They're almost 500 in the division. Of course, the Central Division sucks. But it is what it is. They're 5 games. They have 5 less wins than the next team in front of them, the Pirates and the Cubs.
You're talking about the Reds?
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, though, they're within reach of the Nationals, baby. They're within a game of the Nationals of the worst record in baseball. And a game and a half of the Tigers. Hello. I wonder what the bet is on who ends up being the worst team in baseball at the end of the season.
Do you not think it will be the Reds at this point in time?
It would be hard not to expect that, because I'm sure if there's someone else to trade that they can trade, they'll trade. But there's always that hope, right?
You got to have hope.
Gotta have hope.
Is there a saying from an old song that I won't recognize about having hope?
No song. No song that I can recall. But I talked about the Pacers receiving the number 6 pick in the draft draw last night. The Orlando Magic pulled the Magic out of the hat and received the number 1 pick. Who are they going to take? The Oklahoma City Thunder 2nd and the Houston Rockets 3rd. The Kings 4th. And then the Pistons. So there you go. And then it goes from there. I'm a Chet Holmgren guy, man. I just think that he is the best thing out there. Sam Vecini from The Athletic. He's got Jabari Smith of Auburn going first, which, I mean, it's hard to argue. Chet Holmgren and Paolo Banchero, those 3 are in different orders, but I've seen those 3 all at the top. Jaden Ivey, I still don't get that, man. Unless you just absolutely need a point guard, I'd take Keegan Murray all day long over him. He's more of a complete player, I think. But as something else I notice as you look forward down through this position forward, they've got Chet Holmgren listed as a center, but he's a quasi center. He's more of he can play the 4. even though I know he's 7 foot, but then forward, you got Ivy, the guard. I don't agree with anyway. But then you go back to Keegan Murray, a forward, Benedict Matherin, a wing forward, Shannon Sharp, Kentucky, a wing forward, Griffith from Duke, a forward, Jeremy Sharon, a forward. My point being, that's where basketball is going. How deep did I just go right there? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 9 deep into the draft. 1 guard, 8 forwards, basically, or universal guys listed at the top. That's the change in basketball. And that's what Mike Woodson is trying to do right now with his team. If you'll look at the roster management, it's exactly where he's going. We got to take a break. Got a great lineup for you today. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic joins us next. Cal Neddenriep, Eric Elston, Rick Bozich will be along as well. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Feast Market and Cellar, located right here in Bloomington, of course. They offer an incredible selection of wine with a sommelier on staff and plenty of other incredible gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, variety of cheeses to go with that wine. Make sure you stop in. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington,
I will have another coffee.
Coffee. I'm going to shoot Bob a text in case he forgot. Big Bad Bob. Where's old Bobby K? Yeah, usually he retweets the show promo, Bob Kravitz, and he didn't do that this morning. I wonder if he got caught up doing something. If not, we'll have Kyle here in about 15 minutes. No, here he is. There he is, Big Bad Bob Kravitz.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, Bob.
Elvis has entered the building.
Why are my, let's see, hang on.
Maybe you can't hear us.
Hang on.
Turn that thing sideways if you're using your phone.
Yeah, I'm using my phone.
There you go.
There we
Beautiful.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
Okay.
Like a champ.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was walking my dog.
Oh, you're good. You're right on time. Here we
All
go.
Are you using the yo-yo?
Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on this station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Wednesday. We've made it halfway through the week, and we've got the great Bob Kravitz from The Athletic to join us now. Bob, I know that last night the draft lottery picks were announced in Indiana at a 10% chance of getting number 1, and they got number 6.
Yes, this is so typical of the history of the Indiana Pacers. They did move up. I think it was 88. They moved up from 7th to 2nd to get Rick Smits. I think it was 88. I forget what the year was. But generally speaking, nothing magical happens during the lottery for the Pacers. And even when they pick high, they pick people like George McLeod and Rick Roby and Steve Stepanovich. So no surprises there. I fully expect them to have a choice between Shaden Sharp, who we have not seen. He enrolled at Kentucky, and we never saw him play. I think Keegan Murray might be a possibility. Adrian Griffin. So there'll be a lot of guys out there. Kevin Pritchard made it very clear last night. He's going to try and package his pick, the 31st pick, which they got from Houston, and possibly a player to move up into that top 4, because there seems to be a line of demarcation between the top 4 and everybody else. So I think they're going to try and be aggressive. Whether they're going to have any success is another story.
I was thinking it was actually, for me, it's the top 3 is the line of demarcation. Those top 3 guys, whether it's Banchero, Chad Holmgren, or Jabari Parker, Jabari Smith, rather. Those 3 guys for me just stand out. And then because Jaden Ivey, while a very, very good player, to me is not a program changer from his position.
I disagree with you, Jim. I think he's got the potential.
I mean, to be like another Jai Morant.
Yeah, I really do. I think he's got the physical ability to do some pretty special things. Now, I did see one mock draft. Jonathan Gavoni of ESPN did have Ivy going 6th. So, it's a possibility. This Shaden Sharp is really going to be kind of the inflection point in the draft, because nobody has seen this guy play since high school. He went to Kentucky, he didn't play. And, you don't know what you're going to be getting. But he is 6'6". He's got a 7-foot wingspan. He can finish the basket based on the people that I've spoken to about him. So, there's a lot. They'll have options. Can they move up? It's possible. I mean, it's there's a lot of. I don't know if the teams in front of them are willing to make a move, though. That's you got to find a trade partner. You got to find somebody to dance with.
Something else that I was just talking about that I noticed as I was looking down, and I think this was Sam Vecini's draft list from The Athletic. I went 9 deep, and other than Jaden Ivey, everybody in that 9 was what I consider a forward wing. And that's where basketball is going. Those guys are becoming the centerpieces. Even Chet Holmgren, who they have listed as a center, I don't consider a center.
No.
This dude runs the floor and he plays out on the wing. He shoots the threes. He's not a center. So that's where basketball is going. That's where Mike Woodson's trying to take Indiana, I've noticed as well. But basketball is really kind of shifting to that. I don't want to use the word positionless basketball.
Well, it is positionless basketball. I'll tell you, the first person who ever mentioned that to me was Isaiah Thomas when he was the coach of the Indiana Pacers many, many years ago. We were talking one day, And I was saying, well, you need a point guard, you need this, you need that. He said, the way this game is going, he said, in a couple of years, you're going to have lineups where there's nobody taller than 6'6", 6'7". It's gotten completely away from size. Although, you look at Jokic and Embiid were 1-2 in MVP. But you look at the teams that are doing well, and they are positionless teams. They got guys like Adebayo who can cover 1 through 5. Because everything is about switching on defense now.
Absolutely. And there will be the outliers like a Chet Holmgren, who, while is taller than that, but plays in that realm, which he's kind of a freak. I mean, when I saw him,
he's a unicorn.
When I was out in Portland and actually saw that with my own eyes, I was like, you got to be kidding me, because TV does not do it justice. You need to see a 7-foot guy bringing the ball up the floor and handling and doing all that stuff. And let's see, I just saw someone mention that our own Jim Reamer said kind of what you just said as well about moving up, but it was specifically to get Keegan Murray. I lost that comment wherever it went to, but
Keegan
there
Murray
we go.
Is somebody who interests the Pacers quite a bit.
He interests me. I think he's a hell of a player.
I think he is too. He averages 21, 22 points a game, a couple of rebounds. He can be a 3-and-D guy. I think Keegan Murray, and again, we have to be careful. We're in Big Ten country. We see Keegan Murray, we see Johnny Davis, we see Jaden Ivey. So I think there's sort of that bias towards the guys that we actually see. Now, Shaedon Sharpe, nobody's seen this guy. So that's going to be a tough pick. But look, Keegan Murray to me is terrific. I think Johnny Davis from Wisconsin can be a really fine player, not necessarily a position of great need for the Pacers. But at this point, when you're 25 and 57, if you got 2 guards, that's life. You look back at the Colts. They had Marlon Mack coming back from a 1,000-yard rushing season. So they go out and they draft Jonathan Taylor. It made no sense at the time. How Jonathan Taylor work out? Where's Marlon Mack now? So I don't think you can be position oriented. I think you just go for the best guy, the best basketball player, and you figure out how to use him. And I think Rick Carlisle will.
Absolutely. And then more now, Trace Jackson Davis. This does not have a bearing on him, of course, none of these picks, but his decision day is drawing nearer and nearer. And I still maintain I have not changed my opinion that I fully think that he is coming back. He can't, I think he'll make 3 times the money that he could possibly make on going the other direction.
Yeah, it depends on what the I mean, you know more about the cash situation than I do, but look, I looked at Sam's mock draft last night late, and there was no mention of Trace Jackson Davis. And I've seen Trace anywhere from late in the second round to not being drafted at all, which is a little amazing. But look, he doesn't shoot from the outside in today's NBA. If you can't shoot from the perimeter as a big man, as a non-dominant big man, you've got issues.
Well, everybody we just talked about, not a single one of those guys was a dominant big man, and that includes Chet Holmgren.
Right.
He did not. That's not what he does. Every one of those guys have the ability to shoot the ball, though, and that's the difference maker, and that's why they are where they are. And I don't know that there's going to be a position for a guy who can't shoot the ball.
Right. In Europe, there's a position for a guy like that, but
for now,
look, I would love for the guy to come back and establish, an incredible IU legacy. But, I think this week will tell him a lot. He's at the NBA Combine up in Chicago. I think it's from the 10th through the 16th, and he will get lots of feedback. And I fully expect that they will be in his ear, tell him what he needs to hear, what he may not want to hear. and then he'll make a smart decision. And as I've said before, he's not from a family of need, so he doesn't have to make a decision based necessarily on finances. So he can do what feels right to him. And I honestly believe this. There's no bad decision for him at this point.
Hey, Bob, I hate to interrupt, but we have a little bit of an audio issue with you. Will you drop out and come back in real quick?
Sure. How do I do that? Just leave and come back?
Yes.
We're kicking him out, baby. We're kicking him out. While he's doing that that makes me think more, though, now. What will Indiana have? And I'll have to ask Bob this when he gets back on with us, but how good can Indiana be if Trace Jackson comes back? I think they could be pretty damn good, but they still need a shooter. Trace Jackson Davis coming back does not solve their shooting issues. Maybe CJ Gunn can be that guy. Maybe it's Xavier. Maybe he's working his tail off on that. Maybe it's a committee. Maybe Miller Kopp has less pressure this year and has a little bit more success. And then you had Jalen Hood-Schifino, who, again, if you've got multiple guys that can add, you don't need one guy that can hit 10. Bob is back with us.
Okay, how do I sound now?
Like a champ, baby. Like a champ.
Good deal.
Yeah, I was just talking with the draft issue, all that we've talked about. I think the odds for Trace Jackson Davis coming back are high. And then I wonder, all right, so how good would that make Indiana next year? Which I think that would make them pretty good, but they still have that one issue of shooting that has not been addressed. But I'm like, all right, the one thing that they could do, though, is to solve that by committee. But Miller Kopp maybe he feels less pressure now for some reason and can just add enough. Xavier Johnson was shooting the ball better. Is CJ Gunn the guy? Can he come in and add to that? And then Jalen Hood-Schifino as well. So maybe it's by committee. Tamar Bates, does he take a step up?
Yeah, hope so. You certainly hope so. I mean, it can't be much worse than it was last year. What I would be very curious about for Trace is whether, we've seen those workout tapes where he's shooting from the outside and making shots from the outside.
Well, you see one shot, right?
Well, a couple. And, will he be willing to take that shot if he comes back to college? Because if he wants to play in the NBA, he's got to have some kind of a perimeter game, and right now he just doesn't have that.
Absolutely. Let's see. Ross said he was laughing about Banchero being at the Miami F1 race a couple of weeks ago. Reporter rushed up live thinking it was Patrick Mahomes.
That's a big Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my God.
Apparently he's a British guy, and he doesn't know American superstars and celebrities and whatnot. And he got a lot of people wrong. It was pretty funny. Yeah. Speaking
of F1, Indianapolis just had their F1 race. It ended in the rain, but it was kind of exciting. Did you have a chance to catch that?
I watched a little bit of it. That's not F1. That's just the Grand Prix.
Or Grand Prix, rather.
The Grand Prix. They're on the road course. It looked really dangerous, is what I thought. When I was watching, I was like, why in the hell are they out there? I understand they've got the slicks, the tires and all that, but it looked really dangerous. I mean, I guess it was exciting if you could actually. Those guys are crazy. I mean, I'm like, Huerta was on slicks in the rain. I know, it's crazy, but I'm looking forward to the race. I'm going to try to get out there tomorrow and do something. But tell you what, you look at this group. There's about 20 folks who could win this race. It's really wide open, and that makes it more exciting than ever. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think Herta, with the history is you win the Grand Prix, you go on, you win the Indy 500. I think Herta is a special young driver. I like Alex Palou. I think he's another guy. Jimmy Johnson won't win, but boy, would that be a great story.
Yeah, and we were talking about that yesterday, and then it turned out at one point he had to. First, he blew an engine while we were on the show. I think Ross was keeping us surprised on practice. He blew an engine right off the bat, but then he came out in his backup car and had the fastest time.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, because I'm like, I'm not seeing it from him. All those other NASCAR guys that and whether it was just for the Indy 500 itself, they were successful, it seemed like. Kurt Busch finished in the top 10. Tony Stewart, I think, had a top 10 finish. It was Robbie Gordon tried it several times, doing the double with the Indy 500 and the NASCAR 600-mile race that they have. 1,100 miles in a day, which is nuts. But Jimmy Johnson didn't seem to be grasping this, but fastest time yesterday, that says otherwise.
Not bad. Well, look, if you
but that's oval racing too.
What's that?
That's oval racing too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, guys with that kind of talent. You're talking about Stewart. I mean, Stewart could drive my damn Honda, the wheels off my damn Honda. I mean, some guys just have that talent, but I think in the end, it's going to be one of the normal folks. It'll be Palou, it'll be O'Ward, it'll be Herta. I mean, Herta is the young gun, if you will. So I don't see Jimmy Johnson being a player in the Indy 500, but I could be wrong. I've not spent a ton of time out there. Tomorrow will be my first day.
You never know about our boy Joseph Newgarden.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. I put him up there too.
He's a great story. If you don't know, you need to read about him. It's just a cool story. I saw him on Dale Jr.'s podcast one day. But what's coming up next for you? Out golfing yet?
Oh yeah, I've been playing a little bit of really bad golf, and I'm writing this morning about the Pacers selecting 6th in the draft. And what's going to be interesting about this is, look, Kevin Pritchard has not covered himself in glory with the draft so far here in Indiana, but he had a great track record in Portland where he was in the lottery several times and was able to move up and got himself guys like Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge. So he's got to weave some more of that magic if they hope to move up and get the guys they really want.
I hear you, brother. And there's a golf event coming up that Psalms is putting on that I think it might be at Prairie View. I have to look at this.
Yeah, let me know, and I'll be there.
You're in. I'll put you in. I'll get us in there, brother. Have a great day. Glad to see that you're doing better. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing you. Hopefully, see you up in Indianapolis.
Sounds good, buddy.
Have a great one. The great Bob Kravitz joining us from The Athletic here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We got plenty more coming up. Brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant in Bloomington, located on the corner of Patterson and Rogers. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
Morning, Kyle. Oh, I feel like you might be. Say something else again, Kyle. I don't think we can hear you. Usually it's honestly pretty silly. Just drop out and come right back in. It usually solves it.
That's
we
so
can't
odd.
hear you.
It's so odd. It's been doing that.
It happens to Mike DeCourcy a bunch for some reason too. So yep, there we go. He dropped out. I wonder if it's the type of computer they have.
It doesn't make sense though. If when they come back and it goes in.
Yeah.
Did you send it to Derek Elston? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did. I asked you this morning for his stuff. Why
That's
did
right.
you not get it?
No, I just remembered, and then I remembered that you had asked me that.
So go ahead and send him. Let him know I've sent it to him.
Oh yeah, it's.
How's that?
There we go. See.
Okay.
I don't understand why it always does that. I wonder. One thing. I mean, it doesn't really make sense that this would be the case, but I wonder if it's people with certain computers. There's just like a little bug.
Nope.
That for some reason the software.
Nope.
That kind of stuff does happen. It does.
That doesn't. I know it does.
Doesn't make sense, but it could happen.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And it doesn't have to make sense. I understand that as well. How are you doing, Kyle?
I'm good. How are you, Jim?
I can't complain. What are you out doing? What are they like? So what do you got to follow up with baseball? I guess still right now, baseball still going
I don't
on?
really do much with it.
That's right.
We have a guy who does most of it. I'll probably help out some with softball.
Do you get to take a break a little bit now?
I went to the Adidas May Classic this weekend. Watched a lot of that. I actually working on a JQ Roberts story, and I did a top players thing, and do some AAU, do some randoms. Ray Pavey died yesterday, so that took up most of my day yesterday. So just kind of random stuff, projects.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
All right, here we go.
And pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. We've made it halfway. I hope you're having a good week. If not, we're going to help you get along. Just finished up with Bob Kravitz, and now Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joins us. Kyle, how are you?
Good, Jim. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing a little bit better because I was looking over the Major League Baseball standings, and my crappy Reds are in the crapper, of course, as the worst team in all of baseball at 10-26 with a 27, almost 28% winning percentage, blistering 28% winning percentage. But there's hope. There's hope as I look north to the American League Central Division. Of course, the Central Divisions. Why do Central Divisions suck? They've always been the worst divisions since they went to this 6-division format. The 2 Central Divisions have sucked. They've been the worst. Maybe it's because they're all small market teams. But anyway, getting back to my point, there's hope that the Reds do not end the season as the worst team in all of baseball. First of all, the Nationals are only a game in front of the Reds with 12 wins and 26 losses. But also to the north, bringing up the rear in the American League Central, those Detroit Tigers only with 13-24, baby.
And they had a 4-game winning streak until last night. So.
The Reds won 3 out of 4 the other day too. I'm like, how in the hell is that possible?
The Tigers shouldn't be that bad. I think I was hopeful they would be right around 500, which I think is possible. I don't think they'll continue to be this bad. But what do I mean? They've been very disappointing this year so far. But there are some really good players in their pitching staff is young and and their hitting is still needs to come around, but that's like a lot of teams. I mean, a lot of baseball for some reason, and not for some reason. I mean, it's just the hitting is just not something needs to change. I mean, it makes it where there's this many strikeouts and the batting averages are so low. I mean, it's you almost wonder if something's got to change.
Well, they keep talking about are the pitchers, tacking onto the ball, and they really cracked down on that for that reason right there is one of those. But man, it just seems like, well, the Reds always suck because they suck. But you see a team like the Nationals, who, you know, they've gone through the ups and downs. The Athletics, they're a small market team. The Tigers, the Orioles are in the bottom of their division. Those are all the bottom division teams in the Rockies. So I don't know. It's not like it was. The Reds will never be good again, ever. And so I've got that to look forward to. So there's that. Well, can Detroit have a division winning team again? A team like Detroit?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're you know, they just actually last year I thought they overachieved and they had a good season for the most part. And then, you know, so I was kind of excited. They and then a hopeful, you know, going into this year. But then Casey Mize, who's probably their best young pitcher, got hurt. He's been out for a little while. You know, and their lineup is just sort of, you know, they've got Tucker Barnhart now at catcher, who's, you know, that's a good pickup. They've got, you know, some other guys in that lineup who are pretty good. But, I mean, they don't quite have that lineup where they need it to be. Getting Baez he's a good addition, I think, defensively especially. Man, that guy's incredible. But swings and misses a lot, but he does hit for power. But, yeah, I mean, there's no reason they should be, you know, they are a decent-sized market. I mean, it's not like they're a small market team, and they've got a ton of history, you know, and they, you know, 10 years ago, they were sure to, you know, 10 to, you know, 12 to 8 to 10 years, somewhere in that range, they were really good. I mean, they made, you know, multiple playoff appearances, you know, with Verlander, Scherzer, and David Price, and then the lineup was just absolutely stacked. So, yeah, I mean, it takes, you know, they have to kind of – Mike Ilitch at that time really opened the checkbook, and they had a lot of really good players, and they didn't quite get over the hump. They made it to the World Series, but didn't quite get over the hump. And then they kind of, you know, got old pretty quickly, but you know, there's no reason they shouldn't be competing at the top of that division. In my opinion, I don't, and I hate all those Central teams because they're all rivals. So it makes me angry when they lose to the Royals and the Twins and the freaking White Sox all the
time. And I've got so many White Sox guys on here. Bozich is a White Sox guy. You know, he's from the region. A lot of White Sox guys. It cracks me up how many White Sox guys that I know. I'm like, wow, really?
There's a lot in my life too, you know, who I, you know, interact with on a semi-regularly basis, but
I know. Yeah. Notice how he said that. There's a lot in my life that I interact with.
I'm not calling them friends, you know, for that reason.
Oh man, what is going on in the high school ranks? What is new that you're having to chase and follow? I know that's kind of a break, but you mentioned that you were up at the Adidas May Classic. I know we talked about that. There are a lot of talent on display up there.
Yeah, it was a good, you know, I was there a good chunk of Saturday, and then for a little bit on Sunday. Didn't spend a whole lot of time there Sunday, but I was there for a while. And, you know, watched a lot. It was a lot of Indiana elite teams, you know, kind of a lot of local, you know, the Kyle Guy groups, you know, some of the AG10, you know, so it was pretty much all local, which from my perspective is a good thing. You know, I was able to see, you know, who I think are some of the better players. You know, Flory Badunga from Kokomo is, you know, it's tough they were playing the two games on Saturday. They were just completely overmatched. They weren't overmatched, but the opponents were overmatched. And so it's tough to tell really from a game like that. But man, he was, you know, his ability to, you know, handle the ball and, you know, for a guy his size, you know, is pretty impressive. And I really thought, you know, his hook shot from about, you know, 6 to 8 feet has really come a long way. So, you know, I know he got a lot of publicity as the tournament went along, and rightly so. But man, I just, you know, he looks like a, you know, big time college player and even potentially a pro, the way he was, you know, the way he looks now. And he's not one of the, you know, sometimes the African kids are skinnier, you know, and slightly built. He's
like the Bulls.
Yeah, exactly. But he's relatively skinny, but he's he's muscular as well. He's kind of sinewy, sort of, looks like he can really add some muscle. And so he's going to be an excellent player, an excellent prospect. But so saw him play. So I was actually writing something on JQ Roberts from Bloomington North, talked to him for a while, kind of what he's looking at in his recruitment. He doesn't have any, finalists or anything like that yet, but, I thought he played really well. His outside shot is really coming along. And, I thought, as during the tournament, he showed he could hit the three and kind of some big moments. So, he's interesting. He's kind of a tweener type, he's about 6'7", but he can play the wing or, he can go inside. I think sometimes guys like that, people don't know what to do with them. And maybe it's from the perception, it's sort of a negative that they're a tweener, but, to me, he can guard about any position, he's can shoot it. So I think he's even, slightly underrated in my opinion, but yeah, I saw some of those guys play. Like I said, a lot of the, Logan Imes was up playing for Indiana Elite, the Penn State commit, along with Braden Shrewsbury, who's, of course, Micah Shrewsbury, the Penn State coach's son. So it's kind of fun to see those two play together. It's a couple future Penn State players. And then, just kind of I bounced around and watched some other teams play too. But, just something to saw some freshmen guys who will be sophomores next year. So, that's in class, I've seen a little bit. Obviously, I never really know the freshman class that well because there aren't a lot of them who play at the high school level. And I don't watch 8th grade and 7th graders unless my own kids are playing. But, that's a class I'm getting more familiar with. There's a kid named Braylon Mullins from Greenfield Central, and he averaged about 11 points a game. He's about 6'4", and I think he'll be a guy that, Big Ten and Big East and schools like that will be in on as he gets a little bit stronger and gets older. He's a really good player. He can really shoot it and, long, and, he's going to be a good one. So, yeah, some of that was what I was doing this weekend. And, talk about what I'm doing daily. Ray Pavey passed away yesterday. So yesterday was working a lot on, writing that story, and actually had gone out there, I think about 4 years ago to the date almost, and went to his house and, talked to him about his life and his accident he had when he was in 1961, I believe it was 61, after his second year of college, and, obviously changed his life. He was paralyzed, and his fiance actually died in the crash. And
so, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What struck me, and I haven't, a great piece, by the way, and if you need to go read it, it's in The Athletic, talking about Ray Pavey, the former Hoosier who passed away yesterday. The similarities between Ray Pavey and Ray Tolbert are kind of astonishing. It's more than just the name Ray. I mean, they both were great IU players, both suffered those tragic paralyzing accidents. But Ray Pavey, as you were pointing out, wow, you talk a guy that led a full life. He led a full life after being paralyzed for 60 plus years.
Yeah, I think you mean Landon Turner, Jim.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said Ray Tolbert. Landon Turner. Landon Turner, yes. But Ray Pavey led a unbelievably full life for 60 years, paralyzed. He did more than most people ever accomplish.
Well, yeah, I mean, he and I got to know Ray, not long after I came here, and Ray was he read everything. He would read newspapers, he would read stuff online. He just loved to read, and he always would keep up with the some of the older guys, they don't keep up with the game now. They don't keep up current players and things like that. Ray knew all the players now. Like he was, even up until this past year, he knew. He would go to Newcastle games still. He wasn't quite as able to get around like he used to, but he loved the current game. He loved watching, like when Luke Bumbelow was at Newcastle and Mason Gillis, and he knew all, not even those players, but players around the state. He would travel and watch. He'd go to IU games. He had season tickets, all the way through, and so and the thing about Ray was that if you talk to him, he always was so positive. He was always smile on his face and always, so relentlessly positive, just a real type of guy, a real person, who would listen, we don't have as much of that in our world anymore as people who would really listen and be able to interact. And, he was just such a neat person, and he was a longtime educator. That was something he took a lot of pride in. He coached for sort of a relatively short time. He was kind of run out at Shenandoah unjustly, going back and reading the stories. His record was really good. But they kind of ran him out, which he's not the only the only Indiana high school coach that's happened to. But but then he became longtime assistant superintendent at Newcastle, and he loved hiring teachers and finding talent in that realm, and had a really kind of a lifelong post accident that he really took full advantage of. And the accident was something that, when I went to his house, we talked about it, but, it wasn't even all those years later, he didn't really dwell on it. He didn't want to talk about it a whole lot. He answered the questions, but you could tell it was still, and I'm sure it had to be traumatic for him, but obviously, that goes without saying, but, his nephew was actually in the car too, and he was 9 years old at the time, and then his sister and three of her kids were in the car. One of them went through the windshield. He had surgery. He turned out to be fine, and him and his nephew they would go around the state even not long ago, and they'd go looking at gyms and finding old just kind of going all over the place together. So really a cool person, Ray, just a great guy. You ask anybody, he just knew so many people, and then he would actually know you. He would know your name. He'd know, things about you. He just kind of had a mind like that was really unique.
Yeah. There's just certain people that, there's a guy like that now. I guarantee you, I know him, Joe Gallagher, who's just unique characters. But Ray Pavey was unique in his way. But wow, what an incredible story! And what's sad is that story is not told enough while they're living.
Yeah,
which you did a great job of doing that. But there's more of those out there. But man, what a inspiration! Like I said, he accomplished more from a wheelchair than most of us will. Walking on 2 feet. Just a great inspiration and a great story, by the way.
Yeah. And then we've lost two people, Mark Davidson, who passed away a couple of weeks ago from Fort Wayne Blackhawk. I just told my wife last night, it's like, man, I don't know, they don't need to go into the big thing about the pandemic, but it become almost like you lose so many people, and and that's never really, for me, it was like you go years and years and you feel like you don't lose hardly anybody, and then I guess you just get to know more people, and you get older, and people pass, and it's part of life. But man, we lost two really good people here, and I know we lost more than that, but those two in the basketball community, those two really, I got to know a little bit. Not like I was best friends with them, but just knowing them and being around them, and I considered them, friends of mine. Just in this business, but it's tough when you lose people like that who have a real impact beyond basketball, and that's the biggest thing I think is just being good people. And it kind of makes you like, man, how can I take something from them and add it to my own life, and not that you're going to have the name Ray Pavey or whatever, but you can do maybe a little bit in your own life to be more like Ray Pavey or Mark Davidson.
Yeah, I apologize for forgetting his name right now. The athletic director from a couple years ago that passed away from COVID.
Yeah, Paul Logan. Yeah,
Paul Logan. Yes, another one. Man, I can't thank you enough. Another great appearance with Cal Neddenriep. Make sure you go read that piece and everything that Cal does. It's all great stuff. I'm a subscriber of the Indy Star, and keep local papers alive, baby. I'm a paper guy. But thanks so much, Kyle. Appreciate you, man.
All right, no problem. Thanks, Jim.
The great Cal Neddenriep joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Lots more coming up, including Our good friend Derek Elston joins us here up next on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by our friends from Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore, and her 2 decades of experience could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. We're back with the great Derek Elston right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda. Big D!
Jim, what's going on?
How are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I cannot complain. How's life? How's work? How's the baby? How's the baby?
Man, the baby is amazing.
You
She's
gotta see the baby.
turned 5 months yesterday and just is getting this crazy personality. She's getting some crazy length on her too. So I'm a little worried until right around that college time when hopefully the scholarship comes in.
Terry Moore will be knocking on your door.
Hey, I'd love if she was. I'd love if she, how are you?
Wouldn't that be cool? I can't complain, man. I played golf yesterday. I hit the ball halfway decent, so I was happy, which that never happens.
There you go. That's half the battle. It's one good 18-hole round will make you come back wanting more.
Are you in Evansville or Indy?
I'm in Indy. I'm in Carmel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't. What were you have? Oh, you didn't have to go to Evansville at all. Were you having to go to Evansville?
Yeah, I would go back there. We host this tournament called the River City Classic. Don's a big basketball guy, so we would host that tournament, and I would go down there for the weekend and just watch high school games, girls and boys, and just kind of a way for us to get our name out to the community and just watch basketball, which is amazing. And then, I just, go down there, and there's some people that I have contacts with down in Evansville, and, if they need help trying to get their foot in the door somewhere, I'll go down there and kind of use the name to see if we can pull up some old stories and see if we can get some business done.
Well, we're on radio down there, so.
Hey, when I'm down there, definitely reach out and get together, maybe hit up the casino.
Absolutely. Or anytime you're going down, let me know. You can come on and promote it and say where you're going to be or whatever.
Oh, man, I'd love to do that. Would love to do that.
Matter of fact, I got a place where we could probably set something up.
Good. Is Verdell still doing this with you?
No, once he became a fireman,
yeah,
it changed his schedule around.
Yeah, I figured.
He's big time now, baby. He's sliding down poles and saving cats.
Hey, I love hearing it. I love hearing that he's happy, and if that's what he wants to do, man, congratulations.
I hope he can come over for Jordan's golf outing.
Well, I know, and I'm still trying to make that work too. And God, man, that's the one thing about park, trying to find full days help. One, it's hard. Two, it's expensive it can be.
Yeah, it is. Everything has gone up.
Yes, it has.
All right, here we go.
Difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Wednesday. It's hump day, baby. We have got our good friend Derek Elston in the house. Derek, how are you, brother?
Hey, I'm good, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man. Lots happened since we talked last. Miss Parker Geneva has entered the world.
Miss Parker Geneva is in the world and is a crazy 5 months old. And everybody says it, man. It flies by. And the fact that she's 5, unbelievable. 5 months.
Yeah. Well, wait till she finishes her first year of college.
Oh, God.
That happens next month, and I'm not kidding.
Ugh.
That's how fast it seems like it goes.
Oh, I know. And people keep telling me, they're like, you know what? That's right around the corner. And I keep saying, oh, we've got time. And sure enough.
I said that as well. I specifically remember pushing Kylie in a stroller and an old man telling me something like that. And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, God, like I'll never forget that old man telling me. I will never forget that now. I mean, it's emblazed in my mind. But congratulations to you and your wife. She did all the work.
She did. Yeah, she did.
I guess so. She's gonna be like the Tipton Tornadoette.
That's what I'm fortunate enough to have found a place in Zionsville. So everybody tells me in the area, it's that Carmel feel without like the Carmel with all of the Carmel kids. So, would I have liked for Parker to grow up kind of the way that I did? Yes and no. I mean, it was so small town. So this is a way to kind of get her out and to get her into a bigger environment. But yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of goes through everyone's head is like, man, do I want to put my baby girl in a situation where she's around all these kids? But I mean, hell, there was only about 7 of us that rolled around in Tipton together. So, yeah. I mean, it's probably a little better than that situation I was in, but
yeah, when you're a boy, you can pretty much create anything you need to create. You need fun, you can create fun. You want hell, you can create hell. Whatever you need to create, you can create.
Right. That's exactly
3 letters I want to say to you. TBT, baby. TBT.
Jeez.
Are you involved? Are you playing?
Well, when the opportunity arose, it was more or less me being on the coaching staff than actually playing. I went down to Evansville probably, now 6 months ago. And my boss wanted me to play in a pickup game. And it took me, I think we played 7 games. It took me every bit of 3 to finally feel like I could loosen up a bit. So I don't think I could compete with those guys, but I really wanted to be on the coaching staff.
Get some minutes, baby.
When I was overseas, the player coach, and that would have been fun.
That's what I'm thinking about.
No, I can't do that. I can't pull that off anymore. I'm scared to death to get hurt anymore. So I really want the coaching staff, but with all the travel those guys do, and Parker being as young as she is, I did everything in my power to get those guys, connected to who was putting it on. And I'm still involved in that and just, figuring out names and phone numbers and sending emails to guys. But as far as being like on the bench, just wouldn't be able to make it happen.
And I saw right now they've got 2 guys on the team. Josh Newkirk just added on to Devontae Green, are the 2 that's been announced so far. So you've got some guards, but it's very interesting. I know DJ White is still playing overseas.
Oh yeah. Listen, you're going to see some names come across that Twitter page here in the next couple of weeks that are it's going to be exciting, especially for fans
and here's a name that's going to be very difficult probably, but who is someone that is at the top of their game right now. Mr. Jordan Halls, who's shooting 45% from 3 at the moment. So he could definitely step right in and knock it down. I know I don't know if there's ever been an active coach playing the TBT. That would be incredible.
That never even registered to me. So that's a great call. I think if he was able to pull that off, plus he's got he did that for, I believe 3 years, maybe 2. So he's got some experience being there. So that would be an unbelievable call. But there's some guys out there that are playing overseas or maybe have just stepped away from the league that might come up on this radar, and I'm not going to give any away, but there's going to be some exciting names, and it's going to be an opportunity for this team. Just with on paper, it's going to look like it's got a big shot to go far in this thing.
I think you should come on each time and break the news here with us, and we can announce it to the world and send it out and go forth. As a matter of fact, I will volunteer to be your personal media outlet to send everything out, man. Anything you need promoted, boom, it's done.
Boom. All right. Yeah, all right. I will let them know that I'm going to get on a Jim Quall show and we're going to spread the news.
Indiana Sports Beat is the official media partner for the Indiana TBT. Anything they need, baby. We'll do the shows from the practices, whatever is needed. Speaking of that, practice, where are you guys? Are they going to get together in Bloomington? And because I know that they don't get a lot of time to practice, maybe a week.
Yeah. I don't know if those details have been hashed out yet. I mean, again, there's only been 2 players that have announced. And again, when I was shooting out names, it was all things that just sounded really good. And now you got to try to get a commitment from those players. So the fact that Josh and Devontae are committed and they're in is really good. And I think because those guys, with the relationships they had on the former teams, I think they've got no issues bringing other players along. I think it might be a little difficult. I don't know. I don't know if Assembly would be willing to let them practice. And I know these guys are coming from all areas of the world even. So I think that's going to be a hard part, is finding a place that is kind of centralized for everybody and is easy for everybody to get to. I think that's going to be a big battle. So yeah, it's something worth a conversation to one of my guys who's on staff.
Good call. I got 3. I already mentioned DJ White, and 2 other names just jumped out at me that I just Mr. Yogi Ferrell and Cody Zeller. Huh?
Yeah.
Happened to be available.
Happened to be available. I'm telling you, there's a couple names from these Big Ten championships, especially in 16, that you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not going to give anything away, Jim.
Not yet. I get it. But
if you see some names pop up, I think a lot of Hoosier fans are going to go, "Oh man, I'm definitely tuning into this."
When's the next release do you think is going to happen?
That's the thing. Like I with all the communication that I had done, I had no idea they were even reaching out to guys yet. So when I saw Devontae's name come across, I kind of knew he was one of the guys that they wanted to get going. Josh was also on that list, and his name just dropped, the end of last week. So I actually don't know when these things are really happening. I'm just kind of the middleman to get them to the right people, and it's all out of my hands from there.
Who's kind of then putting it together, or who are you? Or are you working with somebody to put it together, to manage it?
Well, there's a lot of research, or there's a lot of reaching out that you have to do to the committee. You have to put a roster together. It's not just, hey, let's just go find.
I mean, are you putting the roster together? Are you?
Yeah, at the time. Yeah, in the beginning, I was the one putting the roster together, putting out names. They were running guys by me to see if it would work. And, there's some situations where, there's some teams in the past that have been all like Ohio State players, but you'll still see a couple of Big Ten names.
Right.
There were still some guys, I think, in this tournament, you really need a big to really like
Cody Zeller.
You need a Zeller. You need a big. I mean, Ohio State's got Dallas Lauderdale, who's just a monster down low. And when you're watching this tournament over the years, you see that if you don't have a big, it's really hard to compete. So, I was putting together a list of guys who I had numbers with, or had guys that, might be available. I don't know if they would be, but they could be. So I was just doing stuff like that and reaching out and saying, hey. And one of the guys who's going to be coaching is a former manager of ours when we were at IU. And, he is gone, and he's done, he's been on college coaches' staffs over the years, and then recently moved into more of a trainer and a facilitator. And so he just came to me one day a couple months back and said, hey, I'd love to get your input. I'd love to give you on the staff. And I said, hey, I don't know if I'd be able to do that, but I will help you in any possible way I could. So from there, it was just trying to rally guys and get phone numbers, because, even from my time being on staff at IU, these guys have gone through 2 or 3 different numbers. So it's just trying to track them down and see if they're interested.
That's a funny thing you bring up there. I've been trying to get one of my our writers to research and do a story of which it's almost impossible, but to track every IU manager that has gone into coaching or gone into basketball, because it's an astonishing number.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
and finding all those guys. Who's going to be coaching the TBT team?
It's going to be Trace Scotty, who was a former manager back when we were in the, it was my first couple of years on staff. And then took off, went to Xavier, was under Travis Steele for about 2 or 3 years, and then got an opportunity to coach or work out players with I don't think it was an AAU team, but they had a facility that he was managing. And then just, he just said he loved it, said he loved that grind and loved kind of having his own schedule, and then presented me with this opportunity. So I was like, dude, good for you, man.
Well, that's very cool. You're back and forth in Evansville, of course, our great fans listening down there on 97.7 The Ref. And what are you doing down there, and how can people interact, or what can we get them to do?
Yeah, so my role here with the bank is community development. So what I do is, I'm just out and about, and, I'm on calls, and I'm trying to get our foot in the door to build new business. And when I took the job originally, and I'm now in year 3, the CEO, Don Neal, was a huge basketball fan. He's a huge Hoosier fan. And one of the things that he started doing was down in Evansville, and it's gone from USI to the Ford Center at Evansville, and then back to USI, is a tournament called the River City Classic. And what he wants to do is he just wants to get neighboring schools, which now could broaden to even across the river into a little bit of maybe some Kentucky schools, but it's just to get teams together. And he's a basketball fan. He's a basketball nut, and so am I. And so when me and him get down there and it gets down to basketball season, we put on this tournament, and we just go and just watch games for the weekend and just show the community that we are very heavily vested, because that's where we planted roots. United Fidelity Bank, although it wasn't called that, was started in Evansville, and we just want to make a big name down there because that's where we were born and raised.
Doing a great job of it, man, and looking forward to this TBT team, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you at least got it started, and we'll keep updated, and we'll keep making the announcements as they come along, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, I don't know when they're going to drop, but I mean, I know from everybody who's on the staff and who's involved with this team is excited that we got the committee to say, yeah, let's go ahead and put an IU team together. And I think that got a lot of excitement going. And now I think when you see a couple of names come across the board, there's going to be a lot of people that are just, whether they're saying, oh yeah, I wonder what happened to him. Still, all the guys on this list are still just unbelievable players. And I try to follow them the best I can. And, you got a guy like James Blackman, who's out there just absolutely tearing it up overseas. Troy Williams is over in China. So if these guys commit to playing, it's going to be a fun little ride for these guys.
It could be amazing and actually good for Indiana, because very good timing with the program trending in the right direction. If you had something like this, it's just another marketing great deal for Indiana.
No doubt. And I think the home run, and I don't know if this is something that's even been talked about, but I know there for a while they had some college teams that were, the Wichita State TBT team actually got to host 2 or 3 games. So if we could just get those guys back in assembly, I mean, what that would do for fans just as they're waiting for basketball season to come about, I think would just be huge, just because these are names that that 2016 team when we won the Big Ten was just a phenomenal team. And I think fans just want to see what those guys are up to and see that these guys, there's some guys that are going to make this list that you kind of look at and you go, how in the world did he not make an NBA roster?
I just designed the t-shirt, man. A basketball that's got assembly ball in assembly hall.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You're sitting on a fortune, Jim.
Brother, I appreciate you so much. Can't wait to have you on again.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me again. Like I said, this has been this is something that I would love to get on the show and just break some news. And if you want to talk more ball, you just give me a holler.
We'll get you on as often as we can, brother. Appreciate you.
Good deal, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Derek Elston, the great former Hoosier, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. And another great one coming up is Hall of Famer Rick Bozich joins us next from WDRB.com. Back from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
All right.
Thank you, brother. I'm going to shoot you a text and get
Rick.
Trace's number.
Yeah,
You guys,
absolutely.
oh, so you guys know each other. Awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I played Black.
Newkirk and Devontae.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, I mean, I don't know if Cody would be wanting to do something like this, but I mean, some of the names that are on this list, you know, Noah Vonleh, like I said, James, Troy, Dwight, DJ White. I mean, there's some big names on this list that.
What about Robert Johnson? No.
Oh yeah. Rob Johnson's going to be on there. Oh God, I got a full list of some guys here. I don't. That's the thing. That's a great call, Jim, because I never even thought of Jordan. To be honest with you, when he got hired, or when his name got brought up to me that he could be getting hired, I said there was absolutely no way. This guy is like you said, he is at the top of his game right now.
And I knew, but his plan was to play 2 more years. But
yeah, hey, if this is a perfect situation for him, then I got on the phone with him the other day, and it sounds like he is just happy as can be. But he said it himself. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing it for any other reason than my family. Like I am playing so well right now that this has to be a perfect situation. So
I've been trying to get a TB team for 5 years, man. I've been clamoring for 5 years.
I know it. I'm
love it.
To get it done.
I can't wait. It'll be fun, man. I can't wait to cover. Like I said, give me Trace's number, anything they need. I'll have them on, and then you can come on as often as you want.
Yeah, just let me know.
Cool.
All right, man.
And you're welcome to stick around.
All right. I'm here.
Tell Parker Geneva.
Yeah, I will. That baby girl is.
Oh my God! I should have had you show that earlier. Dang on it! What a beautiful picture. Congratulations, buddy. We'll talk soon. I'll text you.
Yeah, talk soon, guys. See ya.
Thanks, Derek.
Hello, Richard Bozich.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm good. Elston's not playing. He's done.
No, he's
knees.
No, I think it's more work. He can't. He's not even going to coach. Oh, he just had a daughter. He's got a daughter, a 5-month-old daughter too. Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat here on this hump day, joined now by Hall of Fame writer Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. I was looking over the Major League Baseball standings earlier with Kyle Neddenriep, and if you ever notice people, newspaper writers are to the core baseball guys. I mean, seriously, if you think, every time, most, especially true writers, are baseball guys. Why is that?
Wow, that's a great question. For me, it was because baseball was the #1 sport in the country when I was growing up, and my dad was a baseball fan. My grandfather was a baseball fan. They took me to games. I played baseball when I was a kid. There wasn't any soccer. There wasn't any, youth league football. It was baseball. That's what we all played. So that's what it is for me, but it's definitely changing. I know that much.
I was kind of lamenting the Reds spot as the worst team in Major League Baseball, but with hope of that changing, because there are some teams they're actually catching up to, man. They're within a game of the Nationals of the worst team. And then your White Sox they're treading water at 500 at 18-18.
They've been a disappointment, man.
And another thing I noticed, the Central divisions in both leagues is always the worst division in baseball. Is that because those are mostly small market teams?
I mean, Chicago's not a small market.
White Sox. The White Sox are not. Other than
the Cubs aren't either. Yeah, I guess that's part of it. I mean, in the East, the Yankees and the Red Sox are going to spend a bunch of money, but Tampa's good, and that's a small market. The West Coast, the Dodgers are spending a lot of money. The Giants are a sexy team. I don't even know the Angels are finally good this year. They haven't been good for a while. But yeah, that's part of it. Part of it is just ownership. Got a lot of bad owners in the Central Division. Pittsburgh's got a bad owner. Cincinnati's got a bad owner.
No, not Cincinnati.
But yeah, it's Cleveland's got a cheap owner. There's another one. So that's part of it. Yeah.
Let's see. The Derby just happened. An incredible Derby as far as the finish. It's one of the most incredible finishes of all time. As a matter of fact, we go back to Mine That Bird when Calvin Burrell brought that horse in from, what was he, like 50-1? I think
he was like 49 or 50-1. Yeah, this was 80-1.
Which is incredible. I don't know. How do you even have an 80-1 horse in the Derby? It just seems like that should be a little closer. Of course, you don't want them to be close, but that seems like a really high number for a Derby horse.
Well, I think he was 80-1 because he wasn't even in the race until the day before. He was he started the week 24th and 4 out of the field. A couple of horses decided they weren't going to wait around, and then another one scratched. And then finally, the day before the race, D. Wayne Lucas scratched his horse, Ethereal Road, and Rich Strike got in on Friday morning, Saddlecloth 21. If you looked at his past performances, he'd been beaten in 5 straight races, had never led at any point in any of those races with a jockey and a trainer who'd never had a Derby horse. There'd be no reason to pick that horse. So I was actually surprised. I think when the day started, when they had the early betting on Friday, he was 99-1. So I was surprised he wasn't more than that.
I always, of course, lament. I wished I would have. I like to bet. I didn't this year, but I like to just bet the trifecta. Just try to hit that trifecta. And good Lord, if just taken that horse over 5 of the favorites and boxed him, and man, oh man, I think that paid like $367,000 for that.
I think it was crazy. 314. Yeah, 314. It's crazy.
Maybe. Possibly, is that the highest ever?
Probably is, because back when Donerail, who was the only longer shot to win the Derby, raced, I don't think they had exactus and trifectas and superfectas back then, 80 years ago. So yeah, I think it is the highest ever.
How was the Derby as a sporting event returning from COVID, because this was the first full year back? What was it like? The infield I saw, I ended up not going because the weather, I was dealing with doing the show and stuff on Friday, but I saw a shot of the infield and I'm like, it's definitely, infield was not full.
It's getting back to normal. It's not the way it was in 2017 or 2018 where the place was really packed, even inside the grandstand and the paddock and stuff. I noticed on Saturday afternoon that there weren't as many people there. I don't know if people just didn't come because some are afraid of COVID, or they've gotten out of the habit of coming, or they cut back on the tickets. But it was the largest crowd of the last 3 years, because obviously 2 years ago there was no crowd and it was raced in the fall. And then last year it was a limited crowd. So more people were back into the swing of more celebrities this year, more buzz, but not quite back to where it used to be. And plus, the weather wasn't great on Saturday early in the day. It got better as the day went on, but it wasn't a spectacular day.
Yeah, like I said, the reason I didn't go. Lots of other things going on. What else is keeping up your time right now?
Oh, I mean, it's been a busy week. In the last week, a week ago today, I went out to an Elks Club here in town, and Jeff Brom spoke to the Flagey High School alumni and had some interesting comments about the Louisville job. And then later in the week, I had a story where Purvis Ellison and some other people are trying to bring an AAU game to town here a week from Friday that'll include DJ Wagner, the top player in the 23 class, and he'll be playing against Reed Shepherd, who's going to UK, and that's also the team that Gabe Cupps plays for. So if that comes together, that'll be a game that would be interesting for, UK, U of L, and IU fans.
Now, is that the game at Valley High School?
Correct.
So that's not in stone yet.
It's not 100%. Purvis was still trying to tie up some loose ends the last time I talked to him. I got to get back to him. But then starting the next day, which is a week from Saturday, the Nike EYBL event will be here for 3 days. The same one that was in Indy like a month ago. All the top Nike teams will be here. Now, Cupps plays for an Adidas team, so he won't be playing here. But I would imagine Xavier Booker will be playing here, and Page, and some of the other guys that I know that Indiana's. I'm not sure if Newton is on the Nike circuit or not. Is he? I don't know. He wasn't up in Indy, so I don't think he is. So, but there'll be some guys that Indiana, Purdue, Louisville, Kentucky, all the local area teams are recruiting. So that'll be going on, and then. Monday, I got to sit down and talk to Kenny Payne for 20 minutes. So been a lot going on in the last week.
Yeah, you've been all over the place. Jeff Brom, the Purdue coach, Louisville grad and former player, was thought to be going. I would have bet the farm he was going there when that job came up last time, and he rightfully and very unusually took the step of saying, you know what, he was going to honor it. It seemed like he honored his commitment is what he was doing more than anything.
Right.
He was going to honor his commitment to Purdue. And man, you just don't see that hardly anymore. And because I was pretty surprised, I thought, well, maybe he doesn't want to be the guy there now. He wants to let somebody else go in there and take the stink off a little bit and then come in, which is the smart thing to do, which is more about what he's doing. Because now if he comes in, they're not rolling. I mean, they can only go up, and there's no doubt to me he's going to end up at Louisville. I mean, I thought his ascension was heading towards Notre Dame. Truthfully, is where I thought that he was going to end up, but now that has taken a different direction. Brian Kelly got the extended contract, then he left, and they named somebody else, and so the timing's not going to work out. I think his next stop will, without question, be Louisville because the timing is kind of right there together.
Yeah, as I wrote in the story, I mean, as long as Jeff Brom's coaching, there's going to be rumors about him coming to Louisville because the family ties and pull is so strong. His dad played at Louisville. He and both of his brothers played at Louisville. He and his older brother Greg were coached or on the staff at Louisville. They all three, Brian, Greg, and Jeff, all have houses still in Louisville.
Did they all win state championships
at Trinity? Yeah, Brian won multiple ones, and Jeff and Greg won at least one, maybe two. I mean, yeah, they were all, and they all. I mean, Jeff and Brian could have gone to Notre Dame or Tennessee or Ohio State, and they went to Louisville. I mean, Jeff was one of the original believers in Howard Schnellenberger when this thing really changed from just another program to a place that had huge ambitions, and Jeff was a part of that. So, that was he was actually here last week. He did 2 speaking engagements. He talked on Wednesday at the Flagey Alumni Club, and then he came back the next day and talked at the Louisville Quarterback Club. So his ties here are very strong.
And then, of course, you got the father, Oscar Brom, who is also very, very well known down there, and
still coaching at Trinity. He was the quarterback's coach at
Trinity. He is.
He's coming back for another year. Yeah.
How old is he?
Let's see. Oscar's got to be 73 or 74.
I did not know he was still coaching, but yeah. One of the greatest clips ever is Jeff Brom when he was in the XFL.
Oh yeah,
when he got knocked out.
Yeah,
I wish we had that. That's hilarious.
It'll be interesting though. Purdue this year, now they lose Karlaftis, and they lost David Bell, and then they announced on Friday, which was a stunner, that Milton Wright, probably their number one receiver, who's from Louisville Christian Academy, they announced he was academically ineligible, so they're down.
I saw that.
2 big receivers. I know they love their quarterback. Aiden O'Connell, and I saw that somebody ranked all the quarterbacks in the Big Ten, and he was number 2. But they got some big holes to fill this year, and their schedule is not as bad as it was last. Notre Dame's off the schedule, so they got think they open at Syracuse. No, they open at home against Penn State, a Thursday night game against Penn State. So that'll be a very big game for Purdue. They got 3 right?
They got what?
They got 3 Indiana transfers. They got Reese Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
They got Samson James. And they got DeMarge Lewis or something.
Yep. Which that's still – I have such issue with that. Not as a fan or anything like that, but just going to – I don't know how you could play as an athlete. I don't know how I could go play for my my rival if it was truly my rival. But I guess and those guys are in state, 2 of them. So it's a little surprising, but a little pressure on Braum this year. I mean, they need to win. I mean, they pay him a lot of money, and
yeah, he won last year though. He was 9-4 last year and won his bowl game against Tennessee, so he had a good year last year.
But he's got to back it up. I mean, they've had, like you said, that year was good, but before that, they'd just been injury prone. But they finally break out a little bit last year. But they've got to follow it up this year, or it's going to look like an Indiana 2020 situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's Penn State at home, then they got Indiana State maybe at home, and then they go on the road to Syracuse, and I think they got somebody else, and then they dive into the deep dive of the Big Ten, which Purdue's got a big advantage over Indiana being in that West Division.
Everybody has an advantage over anybody if they're in the West Division. Are you kidding me? And speaking of that, though, talk of doing away with divisions, which not a lot of talk, but some, and I think they have to. The Big Ten is just too heavily weighted on the East side, and it just, I don't know that it helps the conference. That I don't know if that hurts the conference more or having 9 conference games when most other conferences are at 8. The Big Ten has to go back to 8. If no one else is going to stay or come up to 9, it just hurts the conference too much.
I agree. I look at how Kentucky has built its program, and they're obviously very good now. They've been good now for a number of years under Mark Stoops, but when they turned it around with Rich Brooks playing 4 non-conference games, and in half of those years, every other year you're playing all 4 of them at home, and you're pretty much scheduling 4 wins. I know they do play Louisville, but the last few years that's been a win. So you play 3 games you're absolutely going to win. You pick them out that way. So that gets you halfway to bowl eligibility, and that's how you get your momentum built up. I mean, for Indiana last year, the schedule was just that was, to me, the primary thing that crushed them. The way they got beat at Iowa, I think, let a lot of the air out of the balloon. And then they beat Idaho, and then they kind of struggled to beat Western Kentucky, and then I don't remember who they came. Cincinnati, they came back and they were in good shape in that game, and then McFadden got thrown out, and it went downhill, and the weight of the schedule just buried that team. So you have got to have a schedule if you're a team trying to get up on your feet and running, where you schedule 3 of the first 4 games as W's, so that you can figure out your team, you can get some of your bench players some experience, and you can build confidence. Because otherwise, if you're not in Ohio State or Penn State or Michigan, it's too hard.
Well, the schedule does not get easier this season, unfortunately, for Indiana. They open up. Yeah, they open up at home against Illinois, which
gotta win that game.
And then you've got Idaho and Western Kentucky, which
at home this year, right?
Yeah, they could go 3-0, and then they have to go to Cincinnati, which Cincinnati's not going to be Cincinnati of last year. So that's still a potential. But then you got to go to Nebraska.
Be good, though. Fickle's been there for a while. He's recruiting. That's not going to be like playing the Cincinnati at 10 or 15 years ago.
So then you got to go to that Cincinnati squad. You follow that up by a trip to Nebraska. They have Michigan home. They've got Maryland at home. They got to go to Rutgers. Those are 2 easy ones. But then you've got Penn State at home, at Ohio State, at Michigan State, and versus Purdue.
The last 4 are pretty hard.
Pretty tough. And and Michigan, and at Cincinnati, at Nebraska versus Michigan. Those 3 right there in a row. Whew. Those are 7 tough games.
Yeah, I mean, they got to win the first game. I mean, Brett Bielema has only been there 3 years. Illinois had some nice wins last year. Didn't they beat
Has he
Penn
been there
State?
that long?
This is his third year, I'm pretty sure.
Holy cow. And they're on the come. They're on the right. He's got them trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and you know how he plays that physical style play where he's going to try and run the ball down your throat. And Indiana, when he was at Wisconsin, usually got pummeled by him. So that's a game there right off the bat. You know, it's a home game against one of the lesser teams from the other division. If you're going to have a good year, you got to win that game. You do. And then you got a chance, obviously, like we said, to be 3. Idaho, you know, they beat them bad last year. And Western Kentucky won't be the same Western Kentucky because that quarterback's gone. And I don't know who they've got in, but he's not going to be as good as Bailey Zappi. So it's his second season. I'm sorry. I thought it was his third. But anyway, they got to start 3-0 if they're going to wipe away the vibes from last season. They got to start 3-0, and then you go to Cincinnati. You got a little excitement around the team again, and people saying, "Well, maybe he's fixed things, and maybe this team could be a little bit better." But a lot of curiosity about that team because they still haven't, as we talked about earlier, they never opened up spring practice. They still haven't named the starting quarterback. We don't even know who the kid from Auburn's probably going to be the starting running back, but that's not for sure, right?
Yep. We opened up starting about this, but I want to get back to it and finish the potential of that AAU game at Valley High School.
Right.
Why out at Valley, first of all, so far out there? Is there
from the best of my knowledge, it's the largest gym in town. They can't play it. They couldn't play it like at any like Bellarmine or a Louisville facility because of NCAA rules.
Why they just go across the river to the multiple gyms?
I think they thought about doing that, but they wanted to keep it in Louisville. And so Valley's got the biggest gym in town, and that's where they play the LIT and all the regional championship games out there. So it is pretty far out of the way, but I think it only reached the 4,000. Jeff High would have been better, in my opinion.
Oh, of course, it would have been much closer and seats over 5,000.
Right.
And a great facility on top of that. But so you don't see a lot of interest in an AAU game like that, in a single game. This is kind of cool and unique. You've got, like you mentioned earlier, you've got interest from all 3 of this Bermuda Triangle of basketball schools here in Kentucky, Louisville, and Indiana with Gabe Cupps. Who's going to win the battle for DJ Wagner?
Whew. Hard to say because he could be a guy that goes straight to the NBA G League. Right now, I'd say it's probably Kentucky 1, Louisville 2, maybe Michigan 3. Michigan's, I've read this week, has gotten in there strong, and I wouldn't count out Villanova because he grew up he lives in the Philadelphia area, and you know, that'd be an easy place for his mom and dad to see him play all of his games. So,
and having him go to Kentucky would be almost like having Sean May go to North Carolina.
Yeah, except his dad played for John Calipari. DeJuan Wagner, strong relationship with him, and Calipari is a very shrewd dude. DJ Wagner's half brother, his brother, you know, they have the same mom but not the same dad, is already a walk-on the UK team. So Kentucky's got a couple. He's spent many summers at John Calipari's basketball camp. So he's got a very strong connection. Plus, you know, he's a point guard, or he probably can play 2 guard too. But when you look at all the guys that Cal sent to the league after 1 year, that's another powerful recruiting push from Kentucky.
See, but that's the one thing that I always call BS on is those guys were going to the league. The only reason the Kentucky sent him is where they just made the stop off right there.
I understand. But his dad was the first one. His dad was the first one and done for Cal.
Reed Shepherd, first of all, hearing that name just makes me old. But actually, Wagner's worse because I have to keep reminding myself, oh, that's not the son of Milt Wagner. It's the freaking grandson of Milt Wagner. Now, that's the worst. Well, that is the all-time worst for me. That has never been. This is the first grandson of a player I watched play. So I'm not excited about that.
He's got a chance pretty sure this is accurate. I've seen it written before. If he makes it to the NBA, that'd be the first 3-generation family in the NBA. Milt played briefly. DeJuan played for a few years before health issues drove him out of the league, and DJ would be the third. That's never happened before.
I was wondering about that. Something else that jumps out to me is I used to call this the Bermuda Triangle of college basketball because that's what it was. Kentucky, Louisville, and Indiana, just a zone you couldn't come into. Well, then that fell away mainly because of Indiana, partly because of Louisville. But now that seems to be forming again. Just not somewhat quietly, but it seems Indiana is definitely on the rise. The recruiting has picked up unbelievably. Kenny Payne has breathed some life into Louisville after their problems. I don't think that the NCAA is going to end up hitting them hard. It's just been too long. And who the hell are you going to punish? The players that were in junior high school by the time they get to this?
I agree. I mean, all the people. I mean, they're two coaches removed from the guy who stuff happened under, and all the assistant coaches are gone. One of them's already gone and back in the game, Kenny Johnson. I mean, he's already on his second job since he left Louisville. So there would be a lot of howling here, justifiably so, if the penalty was any kind of NCAA tournament ban. It could be a scholarship reduction or something for a year or two, but any kind of NCAA tournament ban would be absurd. So, but
then you look at people like fans of Indiana who go back to Kelvin Sampson and what happened to the Indiana program for making stupid phone calls that was deemed legal the following year, and how it basically decimated the program. And then you've got programs like Kansas and Louisville and whomever else that were benefiting from Adidas funneling money to people, and just they're basically going to get away with it.
Yeah, and what was amazing about that was Indiana turned itself in. That was Indiana punished itself before the NCAA really did anything. So yeah, that we've obviously moved to a different era, and I think I haven't found the story yet, but I thought I saw Pat Forty tweet something about that somebody came out with some additional salary information where Coach K made $13 million last year, and that Bill Self was number 2 on the list. He made $8 or $9 million. So yeah, Bill Self's reward for what he did and his involvement with Adidas was to become the second highest paid coach in college basketball.
And he'll pay no penalty for it at all. What's coming up next for you?
I'm not sure. I mean, next week, not really a lot this weekend. Looking forward to next week if that game comes off Friday night, which I think it will. And then the EYBL event being here, it's always good to see a bunch of these top players who, should end up playing either at Louisville, Kentucky, or Indiana, Western Kentucky, Purdue, schools like that. It's a dead period. So unlike the event in Indianapolis, college coaches won't be there. But this is like, I think the last or the next to the last EYBL tournament before they all head to the Peach Jam in July. So this is a big deal for these Nike programs, and of the top 50 players in the country, I imagine 35 to 40 of them will be here.
Lots coming up, man. You got this potential bombshell of a game that I'll be coming down to watch if it happens. Next week, the EYBL, as you mentioned, the Indianapolis 500 is coming up. The Indiana Kentucky All-Star game is around the corner as well. That will take place in Owensboro, Kentucky, and Southport. But they also have games at Bedford. I think that is the juniors versus the juniors. Okay. And then one at Mount Vernon. That's the juniors, Indiana juniors versus the Indiana seniors. Okay. I think that's right. So all that coming up, man. A lot of stuff coming up, man. It's not slowing down, Rick.
No, it's not. You know what? What usually happens now? I know the deadlines because I did a few of the stories. The college football preseason yearbooks will be out probably the 1st of June, so we can start looking and projecting at the different teams and looking at the schedules and getting ready for that.
Athlon, baby. Athlon, Phil Steele, all the famous ones. Well, hell,
yeah, Street and Smith.
July, we're going to have Big Ten football media days.
Is it back in Indy again this year?
Yes, they made the announcement. It's back at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Good. That was good last year.
It was awesome, and they loved it. And the Big Ten had the common sense to say, you know what, everybody loved this. We got to do it again. So it was
down on the field, it was all spread out, and you got to talk to a bunch of different people. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, it was amazing. I remember starting the year off. I met Coach Denardi from years past, and I had a picture with him, and Bob Stoops showed up. And I'd actually ridden in a cab with Stoops at Las Vegas once a long time ago, ironically. But anyway, so ended up getting a picture with them, and I was there talking with him, and he was just starting his Fox career.
Right.
He didn't finish the season with Fox. He was back on the sideline. Yeah, back on the sideline before the season finished. So it's craziness. Rick, thank you so much, man. I cannot tell you much. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Good talking to you.
Thank you. The great Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Make sure you give him a follow. He is one of the best of all time in the business. We've got more coming up. Back with it right after this. Brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, right off of I-65. Pizza, burgers, beer made fresh every day.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting.
All right, we'll have a couple minutes left to wrap up.
Oh, man.
Oh, man, what a great show.
We've had a great week so far.
We've been saying that for like 3 weeks.
Well, I said last week slowed down a little bit, but not that it was bad, but I get what you're saying.
I like it.
And it'll keep up tomorrow. It'll be another busy day.
That's a good question there, Joaquin. I don't know that has been set yet.
One thing that always baffles me about some Indiana fans, I'm not talking about the guy who just commented, it just reminded me of the way, and I guess it's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing. I don't know. But it's like they want every single player to commit to Indiana. But there's no room for every single player to commit to Indiana. You know?
But you've got different people that want a particular person. So you got so many fans. So
I guess I just see it as one collective. That's not necessarily what it is. Here we go.
Video on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday.
2 minutes.
If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
What a great show it has been. But it seems like we always say that. Bob Kravitz started out with a great Bob Kravitz, Kyle Neddenriep, Derek Elston stopped by, Rick Bozich. Man, oh man. Hope you guys are enjoying that. Hope our friends down on the Rough 97.7 in Evansville. Derek spends a lot of time down there. Hope everything is going well on the river.
1 minute.
Thank you for that. We're back tomorrow to do it all again. I can't wait. John, what's the lineup tomorrow, man?
We'll have the return of Dustin Schutte from his vacation, so that will be great. We'll have Matt Taylor with us. We'll have Kristen Nari, and then Mike DeCourcy will be showing up tomorrow. Since we didn't have him on Tuesday, we'll be able to talk with him about what he saw at the NBA Combine, so it'll be good to hear from him.
Another full show and lots of great stuff, and especially with Mike being up in Chicago, he'll be able to give us an update on Trace Jackson Davis. But I cannot thank you guys enough. Big thanks to everybody that joined us today. Like I said, thanks to John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here. Do me a favor, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe and like button. It is you can't imagine how much that helps us. Give me a follow on Twitter as well, at Jim Coyle ISB. Back tomorrow to do it again. Until then, I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.